Well, hello, everyone. This is Dr. J, host of the Sexuality Space. Welcome. My silent co host, virtual assistant, and all around I can do it all. Misha Elliott is behind the scenes organizing our business for today. For those listening to the replay, the Sexuality Space is live every Wednesday noon on Twitter. I have created a sex positive community where we talk about different sex topics, meet CEOs of companies, sex educators, researchers, and writers. And I want you to see me doing my work in the daylight as I integrate sexuality into everyday life. Greetings to you all. As a reminder, this is a recorded space which will live on Twitter timeline and is repurposed on my website, the FlowGen playlist, and on YouTube. Please note that the space is equipped with its own chat feature in the bottom right corner. You can ask questions there as the space goes on, or DM Misha or me with questions. Hang on one second. I'm getting a message from our guest for today. Um, let's see. Okay. So wanted to see Gabby has gotten in here. Gabby, I'm going to press the button on your lovely avatar and invite you to speak. So you will see a notification that comes in and just tap on that and you will be good to go. I was just finishing up the introduction to the space, and I wanted to remind everyone that last week um, we discussed body movement and we discussed what inspires us to be who we are and dance like no one is watching. And we absolutely did that um, looking at Daniel Craig's wonderful information that he was providing for us, and everybody seemed to have a really good time with that. And this week we are joined with the co-founder of the Body Deck, Gabby Jockers, and to discuss how her work as being a boudoir photographer inspired these cards. So y'all be nice to her. I happen to know she's not a Twitter person, and she created a space on an account just so she could come in and be with us. So, Gabby, welcome and hello. And you just press that little button. There you
Hey,
go.
Dr. J. Thank you for that warm welcome. I'm very happy to be here with you today.
Oh, I'm very excited. And it's funny. I think about what our work has to do with collaboration and
Mm.
connection. And I want you to tell everybody how you and I found each other.
That was such a great occurrence. And I actually met with that person again recently, and we had another fantastic connection. So, it's so funny. As a boudoir photographer, what I do is such an intimate experience with people. So networking is a big part of my business because having that face-to-face connection and that real human to human interaction really does so much for people's comfort level and trust. And that's so important to me. So I was actually participating in like a virtual networking event, and I met a romance author, another Donna,
That's right.
Danica Bloom. And as soon as she heard about the body deck, she was like, "You need to meet Dr. J. I'm going to introduce you to. You would hit it off so well. Such a great fit." And it was so true. She introduced me to you that day. We set up a meeting, and it was just such a wonderful connection with a lot of shared values and a lot of shared beliefs being expressed. And I'm so happy that I was able to meet you through that.
Well, I am too, Gabby. And, most people know on this space that I live up in that lovely northest end of Florida. And when I found out that you were a Floridian by early life, it was like, wow, the energy of Florida is moving us all together. And we're going through Canada to make the connection for being together and doing the things that we're doing. And Danica, it seems to be just a mover and shaker in the connection. She sent me an email this morning to have me on a specific podcast with her, and I was like, "This is so wild when you find the right vibes and the right
Yeah.
direction. It has this ease and it has this movement to it." So I have something that nobody knows. Nobody. I haven't shared this with anybody, and I have to tell you first with all these witnesses. You know that I'm in the process of meeting my deadline to get the Purple Sex Journal to my publisher. And I
Hmm.
met with the Purple Sex course last night, and I told them that I had the prototype almost finished. I think next week it should be totally finished, and that I wanted them to see it and give me feedback. But the part you need to know is that I added a specific page into the journal where people might choose to use any card decks they want to within gathering more information about the sexual topics that they're dealing with. And I'm referencing your deck in the book.
Oh my God, that is exciting. Wow, I'm so honored.
Well,
Wow.
if it's not true collaboration, if it's not uplifting all of us, then, what's the point? I mean, all of this is we're doing different work. We have different vantage points that we come into it. And given that, I would love to hear, and the first question that I like to ask people when they come in is, to do the work that you do, and yours is body specific, with the boudoir photography. How did you get into that as a career?
Oh, that's a good question. Let me see. Let me figure out the TLDR for that because it could be a very long story, but I don't want to make it, I don't want to go on and on. I think what it comes down to is I think I wouldn't be where I am today without my the past decade plus of practice and training in yoga and in meditation. That's been a big part of my life for the past decade. And when I say yoga, I don't mean, hot yoga, go to a class and do a bunch of downward dogs and stretching for an hour and a half and sweat it out and work out. I'm talking about yoga, the over 4 or 5 thousand year old spiritual system and scientific system that was born in India many, 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 many years ago and is still practiced today by many people, though a lot of people in the Western world uh, only see a more limited representation of what yoga is. And through that practice, first starting with the physical practice and then exploring more the spiritual side, I went from being completely cut off from my body. Like you could ask me if I was hungry and I'd be like, I don't even know. Or you could ask me how I was feeling. I would say fine. Not because it was I was avoiding the answer, but because I didn't know. I had zero awareness of my own body and the emotions in my body. I had no vocabulary for emotions. I was just very ignorant and disconnected from my own body. And through my yoga practice, I was able to experience what it was like to be in my body and to experience emotions and to process all these things that happen to us in a, it takes a while, but in a healthy way eventually, even though that's obviously still a work in progress. Um,
We're always that way.
right. So it was through that practice that I was able to connect to myself. And then when I finally got sick of working for working for other people in the corporate world of just I felt my career in the corporate world, I was in tech sales and I felt like there was always a man manager telling me, no, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. And feeling so bored in my jobs and so uninspired and unchallenged. And with time, rather than being somebody who's burned out with 80 hours a week, I had barely 30 hours a week of work to do. And I was bored and I was wanting more work. And my managers were always like, no, we don't really have time for that. So I finally decided to quit my job and start my own business. And photography, as somebody who's been doing photography for like basically my whole life, photography was a no-brainer for me. And it took a while for me to find boudoir, but when I finally did, it was like something clicked. It was the way that I could express what I have learned in my life and the impact that I want to have on other people with art and a creative process and a one-on-one intimate container with individuals. And it was just everything that I love, everything that I'm passionate about. It took me a while to figure out how to express that in my business, because coming from the corporate world, I was a little bit more like, oh, be what's a good way of saying this? Not put too much of my own personality into my business, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think you know what I'm talking
I
about.
do. I do. I
Yeah.
do.
Yep. So it took me a while to shed that idea and to step into my role as the mindful boudoir photographer, as that photographer who's going to help you do intention setting and lead you through a guided meditation before your photo shoot, so that you could experience what I experienced, which is when you connect to your body and you turn your attention from the overthinking, the anxiety, the fear, the thoughts, the mind, to the physical experience, sensations, emotions, that level of being, how much peace, joy, and confidence can result from that.
Well, that is absolutely beautiful. And I need to let folks know that you and I had a great conversation about my wedding photography, and that it was a boudoir photographer who did the wedding pictures for
Mm,
me. And when he saw the lace on the different garments that you were together, he says, "You have to do this boudoir." And he was down in Miami, and I was up in Tallahassee at that point in time. And
mm,
there was no way I was going to be able to get down to his studio. And to this day, I think I wish that I really had done that, because I saw his work and it was absolutely lovely. And hearing
mm,
you describe the mindful direction where you help set intentions. I have a friend who works with me in the Rosie app, who decided that she would do a boudoir photography setting for herself. And she talked all about the empowerment that she felt after that was all finished. And I didn't talk with her about who the, photographer was that she used, but I'm so hearing that your personal experience of getting in touch with your body is a leading factor in how you help women make that same connection for themselves.
absolutely. I firmly believe from my personal experience, which is to say that this may not be true for everyone, and that's totally okay. But I do believe that the breath is a gateway, and I do a lot of guided breathing, or people call it breath work, during photography sessions. I personally believe that the breath is a gateway to connection between the mind and the body. And when we can connect our physical and our non-physical experiences, it opens up the gateway for even deeper um, connection to self, connection to whoever you believe in, a higher power or a higher energy, or your sense of purpose, or your sense of belonging in the world. It is a gateway to just a more purposeful, grounded experience in the world.
I love it. Misha says that she had boudoir photos taken at 35. I'm kind of sad I haven't done it again at 45. Maybe when I'm 55.
Hey, it's never too late.
It's never too
You
late.
don't have to
So
wait another decade.
there you go, Misha. You really don't have to wait. You can do it whenever it suits you in the direction. So, how long have you been doing boudoir photography?
3 years now.
3 years. So, in the process of doing that, tell us how you transitioned from the photography to make this new cool tool.
Oh, that was a fun project. So I have a friend who actually still lives in Florida. I moved out of Florida when I went to college many, many years ago. And I have a friend who still lives in Florida, who is Melissa, who we have been friends since we were, let's see, I was 9 years old and she's a year younger than me. So 9, 8 years old, something like that. We spent our childhood hanging out together, playing together, taking photographs together. I definitely started photography with her. We would find trash in the street and like sit on top of broken washing machines and like take pictures and
I
go
love it.
go into go onto train tracks, which we definitely got in trouble with her dad for that one, and all this sort of stuff. So we have been friends for a long time, and just through time and those old friendships, there have been periods where we lost touch and periods where we got back in touch. And several years ago, we got back in touch and we started, um, you know, socializing more and being together. We haven't lived in the same place since we were 17 years old. So it's been a while since we lived in the same place. So just keeping up that friendship long distance. I'm sure everyone here can relate to some of those type of
Oh, yes.
experiences. Yeah. And then we both also started our journeys of entrepreneurship around the same time, and exploring what it means to not work in a traditional career, but what instead it means to work for ourselves and work for our clients. And we went through several years of being, I call it, business accountability buddies, and being there for each other every week for the highs and the lows, and a lot of the experimentation, because anyone who's in business knows that it's more experimentation than anyone will ever let you know before you get
Absolutely.
started. it's more
Definitely.
it's more trial and error than anyone wants to admit. I'll admit it. um and she has, gone through her own process, and I have gone through my own process to discover how we express our own values, our why, our purpose in our lives and through our businesses. And last year she told me, she's like, I have been using different card decks and I'm really loving them. And affirmations has been something that we've both practiced and preached for years. And so she invited me to start working on an affirmation card deck. She is a great ideas person. I have my ideas, but they're a lot slower. I'm not like bam, 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 idea, 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 She's full of ideas and great ideas, but you can't do all the ideas. But this affirmation card deck, she kept on talking about it, and we're like, okay. I told her, I'm really busy right now in my business, but I can dedicate, let's meet twice a month to come up with some affirmations. And we just started with coming up with words. When we think of the body deck, and we wanted to do this body focus because she is I'm a boudoir photographer, and she is a dietitian, a registered dietitian who works in now she works in an eating disorder clinic. So both of our careers have a big focus on the physical body as part of our experience, and coming to peace with it, coming to love and respect it. So we wanted to make the focus of this on the body. But both of us believe that the body is not just the end all be all. The body is just our gateway for experiencing the world. And our relationship with our bodies is so dependent on our relationship with other parts of ourselves, our heart, our soul, our values, all these kinds of good things. So we were working on, first we came up with names. Let's come up with certain words, like just words like advocacy or diversity or beauty or connection or self-compassion. We came up with this list of words that took some time, and then we went through each words and we created our own affirmations for them. And they're not affirmations like I am beautiful, I am worthy, I am loved. We put our hearts and souls into these affirmations, and everything that we had learned over our own personal journeys over the past decade or two, individually, and just what we learned about existing and integrating the different parts of ourselves and what that has to do with the relationship of the body. So not every card in the deck is specifically related to the body. A lot of the cards are about, when I feel lost, I connect to my values, that kind of stuff. So that is, long story short, it didn't even feel totally real for me until we made that first sample deck order back in, I want to say late September of 2020. We spent all the year leading up to that point creating these affirmations, designing the cards, drawing the design on the back cover. She put a lot of my boudoir photos in the design. I'm giving her full credit for the design because I was more of an editor role in the design versus a designer role. I'm a photographer, not a designer. Um, and then when we ordered that first sample deck, I was like, oh my God, this is real. I
Well,
have just made a product.
I
When did
know,
that
and
happen?
when we did our Zoom call and the three of us were talking, we both could hold the decks in our hand, my deck and your deck. The funnier part is to find out that we both had them published at the same location, so we know what our experience was in using that particular method of getting the cards. And I know exactly what you're talking about in terms of you have an idea in your head and then it comes into your hands in this product. And, you know, I'm a tactile person. I'm holding your card right now that says abundance. And I'm just,
Mm.
rubbing on abundance and going, this is so exciting. And when I opened your deck, what I absolutely loved that you did, and I thought, this is clever. I had to set mine up in a different way, but I know why this is so important. You have everything in alphabetical order when you open it. I absolutely love that as a structure and organization. And your color theme is so wonderfully soothing. I mean,
Mm.
light pinks, light greens, light blues, light grays, light brown. It gives you that peace when you open the
Mhm.
deck and you just take a look at it. And I see you have 77 of these
Mhm.
cards. And how did you have any significance for the number that you picked?
Melissa is a big fan of angel numbers. So she wanted the deck to feel hefty, right? And so we're like, well, we're either doing 44 or 55 or 77, skipping over 66 for obvious reasons, or 88. And just the way that the printer had the options available, we both had so many affirmations that we created. We're like, 44 is not enough. 55 is not enough. We have too many. We have so many in our hearts to put out there. And so we just landed on 77. I have no like specific relationship with angel numbers as a personal practice. But hey, I love a little symmetry, alphabetical order, repeating numbers. I love those kinds of things.
Well, I have to tell my numbers. My number is 54, and
Mm.
54 because nine is a completion number. So five and four is nine. So that's the
Mm-hmm.
deck. There are nine topics of sexuality topics in my deck. So nine was a very important direction for me in that.
Yeah.
And again, it really speaks to how wonderfully individual we are in creating what our tool and product has to do with, and the choices that we make about that. You have your deck in this lovely hard case green box. So I'm sure that green is about the healing component, since I'm going to do a
Mm-hmm.
little. Is that true? You picked green for that reason?
We picked green for a couple of reasons. One, yes, the healing component and its association with the heart chakra.
Yes.
Two, because when we were doing our research and doing our design, I'm the kind of person that when I am creating, I have my blinders on. I am not looking at what other people are doing. I recognize in myself that I am very easily influenced by outside forces. So I make sure to protect my creative mind when I'm in the process of creating by not allowing other creative input from other people in there that could influence me. So so there were several times when she was like, let's look at what this is, because she gets inspired by other people and inspired to create her own ideas. I'm like, why don't you look at what other people are doing and then you can come up with an idea and tell me about it. I
I
don't need to
love
look
it.
at what other people are doing. But this was the one exception because she was doing the design and I wasn't doing the design out when it came time to create the cover. We experimented with a few different designs, a few different color palettes. And when I say the cover, I mean the box and the main color of the deck. We experimented with a few different designs and it came down to picking between two different designs, a rich green one, the one that you see, and more a pink and blue one. You also see those color palette in the cards itself, in the cards themselves. And so at that point, I was like, okay, you know what? Now I can see what other people are doing because now I'm not creating something. I'm trying to choose between two options. So we went on Etsy, we went on Amazon, we went to bookstores and we're looking at the different options there. What are other people doing for their card decks? I did not see a single green card deck. I did not see a single green prominent color in the Etsy listings and the Amazon listings. I saw a lot of white, pink, blue, tan, beige, even black. Not a single blue or not a single green. Green has always been one of my favorite colors. So it was a no brainer. At that point, I was like, I want to stand out. I want people to search affirmation cards on Etsy and mine pops because it's green.
And see, I love it. You're talking heart chakra, you're talking your favorite color. I don't think anybody's surprised that my deck is purple. You know,
Not at
that's
all.
I'm the signature purple through and through. And so that's not going to be a surprise to anybody that, again, we're using these great things that make us the individual and bring these forward. So, um, I see that I have in my hand the card that has on one side how to use this deck, and on the other side it has the scan the QR code. So our brains were all together because I have a card that looks just like this. And what is different in your digital copy, your download, than the information on the front of the card about how to use the deck?
The digital download is the entire 77 card deck in that has been resized to work as a phone screensaver. So you can take your favorite card if there's one that sticks to you if you're out and about and you can't carry the actual cards with you everywhere you go, or you just have one that feels like a really important reminder for you this day, this week, this month, this year. You can save that as your phone background to be consistently reminded of it anywhere you go at
Oh,
all times.
that is cool. You and I will be talking later for details on how you did that. Um, well, I absolutely love the way that you two have your pictures of yourself there, the real people behind, what this energy has to do with. And how did you come up with I'm assuming I'm gonna go with your yoga background here for your breathing and the directions. The first step is take 6 breaths to anchor into your body and the present. Is this?
Absolutely. Yes, that absolutely has to do with the yoga and background. There is, it's easy in our day to be caught up in our minds, to be caught up in thinking. We all have these endless to-do lists that, they will never be completed. Appointments, things on the calendars, so many things to do. We get caught up in feeling pressure and rush from the outside world, from our jobs, from our families. And it always feels like, maybe not always, but it can often feel like we're just we're just like kind of controlled falling to the next day. So these deep breaths help us conscientiously connect back to our bodies. So if you just even take 1 or 2 deep breaths right now, like in through your nose and out through your mouth, and you use that breath to guide you back into your physical experience. You feel what that breath feels like going into your nose. You feel how your belly expands and then contracts from the inhale to the exhale. You might feel your shoulders come down a little bit, your back when you exhale, especially when you get to the third, fourth, fifth exhale. Just this 30-second to 60-second practice of taking a few deep breaths in and out can switch our state from being in thinking mode to being in feeling mode, which gives us a better foundation to receive the message that the card wants to give you today.
I love it. You just reminded me that what that in my mind comes into is the entire cleanse of the energy that's been holding you in the place that you've been in, move it
Mhm.
aside, and then take one of these wonderful cards like abundance, holding on to it and doing the reflection, opening that space for this information to come in and resonate and do its vibrational work within you. So I love
Absolutely.
it. I love it. This is excellent. Well, I have an odd question for you. I want to know, if we look at these 77 affirmation cards, which one is your favorite?
Oh, that's a hard question. I am the person who I will have a different favorite depending on the day, depending on the moment, depending on my mood. I will have a different favorite minute to minute. I don't have favorites. I'm really bad at favorites. So unfortunately, you're not going to get an easy answer, but I can tell you some of my favorites, which is
Okay.
basically all of them. But I'll tell you some of my favorites. All right. I just pulled my deck out so I can, because I
Okay,
am a very
while you're
visual
getting
person.
that, hang on
Yeah.
one second. I
Yep.
see Mish has her hand up, so let me check in with my co-host.
Gabby, you say every day is a new favorite, so what is today's favorite?
Today's favorite, some of my favorite. Okay, actually, I might have a favorite. Oh, okay. Today's favorite is probably going to be magic because I've been talking about yoga and my relationship with it, and the card magic kind of sums up my relationship with yoga. The card magic says, I'm more than just a body. I am the magic and wonder of the universe in human form.
Oh, that's lovely.
I love that one. And as for design, I mean, I have a lot that have my photos on them, which I really love. But funny enough, one of my absolute favorite designs is the one with I think it's rest. Sorry, mine are not anymore in alphabetical order, so I'm just do. And I'm not a person who memorizes. So one of my absolute favorite designs is rest. It has a little sloth hanging down from the top, which is why it's my favorite. I just think it's so cute.
That is cute. See, mine are in alphabetical order, so I can find them real
You
fast.
found it quickly. Rest says,
That is really, really nice. And it, boy, the position and the paw in the
isn't it
mouth
so
with
cute?
like looking at you going, I'm resting. What are you doing? You know, you're
Isn't
getting
it
this
so
really
adorable?
cool message. But I want to go back to magic because
Oh yeah.
that is a gorgeous photograph. The woman is
Mm,
coming out of the flower.
mm.
That is a beautiful rendition of what magic has to do with for ourselves.
Thank you. And she has, if you look closely, you'll see that she has wings painted on her back. I painted those. I used to do a lot of body painting uh, back when I was in high school and college, and I recently decided to pick it up again just as a creative outlet because it's just fun and I enjoy it. And so I had my friend here, Heather, come by and I painted wings on her, and we did a little photo shoot, and that really symbolized magic for me.
Well, I love it. And, you know, I want to tell you something that you're not aware of. One of the people in the room here, Rachel Thompson, who is the CEO for um, Bad Redhead Media,
Mm.
she and I have worked together for many, many years on just all sorts of different projects, including all about Twitter Spaces and this, that, and the other. But we did a program together for authors about how you could use cards as a way to, you know, take your book and put your book out in that information and that sort of thing. So what I'm curious about is now that you've got this deck, how many more are coming? Because I had a friend say to me, you have 9 topics in this deck. Now you can have a specific deck for each one of them and tie them all back to the first one. And I was like, oh boy. So Gabby, where are you with that?
So if you ask Melissa, she'll say there's a million more coming. Um, and if you ask me, I'll say just wait and see. I need to focus on one thing at a time. So right now we're really, since this deck is so new, it was only launched in November of 2020, and it's only been sold for like less than 3 months now. Because it's so new, we are really focusing on building our Etsy presence and gaining success with this deck before moving on to a new project and spreading our attention over more things. So, both of us have full-time work that we do outside of this deck. So we just, and families and all that kind of stuff. So we can't really be just creating. Neither of us are those kinds of energetic beings that could just do that amount. Props to those people. So
Well, you
it'll
know,
probably maybe another year. And the idea for our next deck is release and receive. So we're playing around with the idea of having a black and white deck with certain cards, half of the cards being on what do you need to release right now, what do you need to release today, and what can you receive today or right now.
Well, see, you already have your incubation in
Yeah.
place. The idea is there, so you'll have a file folder for every time you have an idea. It
Oh
goes in
yeah.
there in that direction, and it'll be created in no time.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh
that's where
yeah.
that energetic business comes into play.
Yes.
So one of the things that I always ask everyone is, what would you like to share about you, this work, this project that I haven't asked you about?
Ooh, good question. I think something that's very important to me in my work as a boudoir photographer and that's influenced the creation of this deck is that our purpose, our peace, our confidence, our joy, it's never going to come from outside ourselves. It's never going to come from somebody else telling us who we need to be and following that, or telling us what we need to do and following that. You can find some level of material success through that. But when we're talking about that deeper sense of peace and purpose of oneself, your relationship to self, your sense of confidence in your actions, in your body, in your way that you express yourself in the world, it's always going to come from inside. It has to come from inside. Nobody can give that to you and nobody can take it away from you once you have it, once you have felt it. And we all have it. We all have that inner peace and it's just a matter of coming back to it. So in my work as a photographer and in the creation of these decks, my focus is always not on how can I tell these people who they are or what they need to be or what they need to think about or what they need to focus. It's how can I direct this person to their own internal experience so that they become stronger from their own strength, not from external validation, but from internal validation. So that's a huge, 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 huge like underlying foundation as to how these cards and all my other work that I do is expressed.
Well, I'm very curious now that I got that particular gist. Do you now use with your mindful intention for boudoir work, do you incorporate your cards into that?
Yes.
Oh, tell me how. I want to hear how
I
you do that.
do. I do. So I give them as client gifts so that people, as they leave their session, have another tool that they can use to continue tapping into the connection and the confidence that they felt when they were in my studio.
Oh, that is absolutely lovely. Absolutely lovely. Oh, Misha has her hand up.
Have you thought about using people who come in for photo shoots in a deck, or is that all?
Several several of the people in this deck, um, only a handful of them are kind of hobbyist models. Several of
Mhm.
them are actual clients.
Yay, I love that.
Yeah, yeah. Several of them are clients, and of course, I with hobbyist models, with people who do some modeling as free time that I use for more create. I work with those folks on a more creative basis. Like, hey, I want to try out like the body painting. Hey, I want to try out this concept. Would anyone like to work with me just to do this creative project? And I work with people who kind of like, oh, I model sometimes on the weekends or on the evenings, that kind of stuff outside of my regular work. And then those people, we have a process in photography. They sign a model release. They know that I have the rights to use these photos however I wish to promote my business for other projects, commercial projects, that kind of stuff. As far as the people who were paid clients of mine, I made sure to reach out to everyone who's in here has signed a model release and given me permission to use their photos. But because clients who pay me to take their photos don't quite know the ins and outs of the photography world and model releases and stuff, I made sure to reach out to all of them individually to explain how it would work. And everybody who's in this deck received a free deck of cards from me just as a way to say thank you for adding your beautiful, wonderful presence to this project. And it's so funny how after I sent a lot of those decks, so many of them reached out to me and they're like, wow, the affirmation that I'm on, the card that I'm on is just perfect for the stage of my life. It's perfect for my journey. Like, how did you manage to put me on the perfect card for what I needed to hear and for what symbolized where I was at when we worked together?
That is really synchronistic. I love how those
Oh, yeah.
particular things happen. And I tell everybody that picks up my deck when they look at the physical card, that is a representation of me sitting in the mountains with this idea that blossomed and then was
Mm-hmm.
executed while I was there. So, yeah, it's interesting how I do a lot of mandala work, and that's part of the purple sex journey. That Jung always said we capture the subconscious in very specific moments, and we can do this in art, creating mandalas. And so that's part of the process that I use. And I look at the cards in the same way. It captured a moment, it captured words in that moment, the visuals there, the affirmation, for us to think about, and doing the cleansing breaths, and the setup for receiving that information is really, really exciting. So what I want to do now, the last little bit of our time together, Gabby, is to open the floor to see if any folks would like to come up and ask any specific questions. So, Mish, you've got the mic. So, is there anything that you wanted to know specifically? She's at her day job, Gabby. I always get tickled that she can actually do all the things here and do that too.
Let me think on that. I'm not sure yet,
Okay.
but I think it's really cool that people who have been photographed by her are in the deck. That is like the best thing ever.
I love it. I love it. Melody, I have not seen you in forever. It is delightful to have you in the space. Hi, Victoria, Maggie, Rachel. So if the four of you have any questions, feel free to grab the mic and come on up. I I was thinking about what it's like in the entire idea of collaboration. And one of the things that I really appreciated that you said, Gabby, was, the way that you and Melissa have worked together. And I think Misha and I do that in a million different items of our life. And Rachel and I have done that for a lot of different things that relate to the book business. So I think for women, maybe we even have a clearer picture about what collaboration can really be for in the strength area in lifting everybody up in the processes. So I'm excited. And look, you have folks who want to ask you questions. So I look down and I don't know who came up first, but Melody, since you haven't been here in a while, hello, my friend across the pond.
Hello, Dr. J. How are you? I've missed you so much.
I have missed you too. I'm just tickled you're here today.
Oh,
This is Gabby Jockers, my guest today.
hi, Gabby.
Hi, Melody.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. I actually really don't have a question at all. It's just I managed to get on because they've taken away my working from home schedule. So now I have to be in office. And during this time, I'm usually either just finishing work or coming home, and it's just too much chaos. Anyway, I just wanted to jump on and say hi to Dr. J and
Well,
everybody, and to say keep doing the great work.
oh, that is excellent. But Melody, I was thinking with the work that you do as the love and relationship counselor, this would be a wonderful tool for you to have with your clients and doing your coaching work to be able to have something that's a specific tool. You'll have to check this out.
Oh, definitely. I will look into it and see what it is about. Definitely.
So Misha has been putting it up in the nest, so you can see the link up there. I did your Etsy
Oh, thank you.
link, Gabby, so people can go directly there. But Melody, you and I have to get together and have a Zoom. I miss talking to you.
Certainly.
Talk to you later. Maggie, welcome to the stage, my friend.
Oh, hello, Dr. J. Um,
Long time no
right,
speak.
exactly. We just saw each other last night. But it feels like it wasn't like that. Thanks so much for hosting this. Thanks, Gabby, for all the work that you do. I have been thinking myself to have a boudoir photo shoot, and it reminds me when I was traveling and I hired a professional photographer to take pictures of myself, like me when I was traveling in Paris, because I realized up
Mm.
until like I think I was 36 or 37 at the time, I'd never had anyone take actual professional pictures of me, like except for high school, but those are not the kind of vibe that I was going for. And it ended up being this incredibly liberating, amazing, like loving experience. And so I'm wondering, and also just to say that the comments I would get were often like, well, that's amazing that you did that. And I realized single women often we don't, because I would contact these photographers and they were like, well, we really only do like engagement or marriage photos or families. And I'm like, well, that's not my situation. So I finally found this photographer. She was amazing, in her mid 20s, and she totally got where I was coming from. And so I feel like, being that I was a single woman at that time, like it was really amazing to invest that in myself. And I'm wondering, like how many people come to you with that kind of a mindset? Because I feel like we get such negative messages of, if you're a single woman, you're worthless, like you should be getting out there, you're not partnered, find a partner. And then I internalized a lot of that. And I felt like there was something wrong with me and I shouldn't be celebrating my body, like my freedom, my like whatever, because like I was wasting my time on that. I should be putting my energy towards other things. So yeah, just that was coming up for me as I was listening to this conversation.
Yeah, Maggie, I know exactly what you're talking about, and that's part of the reason why I do what I do. And I definitely I have a lot of people ask me, so when people do boudoir photos, is it so they have a gift for their fiance, a wedding gift, or for an anniversary, or for a partner's birthday, or all these kinds of things? I'm like, I mean, yeah, that is a reason why people come to me, but I think that because of the way that I talk about what I do, and because of the message that I have, or like the meaning that I have infused in my message, the way I've written my website, the way I talk about what I do online and in person, I actually do get quite a lot of people who come to me because they're doing it for themselves. So women saying, I have a lot, okay, I have a few different reasons that I have discerned why people, their driving reason for why they made the booking in the first place. One of them is women who have, and I'm going to use women just as a general easy term, but not everybody who I photograph identifies as a woman. And boudoir photography is not only for women, but since we're talking about women right now, I'm just going to use that term for ease. I just want to add that little disclaimer. So I have a lot of women I work with who maybe have left a relationship where their ex made them feel less than or shame them for their sexual expression or their sexual desires or fantasies, or controlled them and made them feel less than. And they come to me as a way to reclaim themselves, reclaim their bodies and their hearts and their souls and their power. um I wish I could find the card in here, but it's probably going to take too long. I have one client specifically who came into me after a divorce, and she was married to a very controlling, manipulative individual, and she was on her process of self-discovery. The card is empowered, and the affirmation is, I'm stepping into my power today. I'm no longer making excuses or waiting for somebody else to give me permission. I'm ready to empower myself and others. And the woman on this card came to me after a divorce when it was one of those, without kind of telling her story because it's not my story to tell, it was one of those situations where she suddenly found herself married to somebody who she realized was not a good person and a monster in a way. So her process of rediscovery and refinding herself led her to work with me. I also work with plenty of women who are single or in relationships, but they come to me because I've actually had several women lately who are like, I want to do this on my birthday. I actually just talked to somebody yesterday who booked her session, who she was saying, I want to do something for my birthday for myself that's not just getting a massage and going out for dinner. I want to do something that celebrates my body and celebrates where I've been, what I've been through, and where I am now, especially after a pandemic where, this particular person was talking about how she went into hiding. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. Going through a pandemic where you may lose your job and you're told to isolate, and everything changes, and a lot of people felt like they kind of withdrew into a shell during the past few years, and a lot of people are going through a type of reawakening or refining themselves or re-entering society and re-entering their own lives. So I think maybe compared to some other boudoir photographers, I think it's because of the way that I talk about what I do and the way that I write about what I do. I actually do get quite a lot of people who come to me as a way to celebrate themselves, because that's what I'm all about. Because I have it on my website. I'm here to celebrate you. You don't need to do this as a gift for somebody else. If you do, that's a very lucky person who gets an album of your boudoir photos and who gets to be with you after this experience. They are super lucky. But even the people who do come to me because they want to get a gift for a significant other, we end up at the viewing and ordering session where they look at all their photos and finalize their order and stuff. And they're like, I didn't realize this would be such a gift to myself. I'm like, yes, it is a gift to you. Absolutely. So a long answer is yes. A lot of people do. I don't even remember if it's yes or no, but a lot of people do come to me as a way to celebrate themselves, and I am 100% for it.
So there you go, Maggie. Woohoo, we have somebody out there. And I also want to point out, I'm one of those lucky people that got to see one of those Paris pictures, and it was absolutely spectacular. That beautiful blue suit and hat that you had on the over the water, spectacular. I absolutely loved it. I still remember it. The minute you said that, that's the picture that came up in my mind. So yay. Misha, your hand is up.
I like what Maggie shared with her experience. And when I did mine, it was sort of a group thing because a friend wanted to get a gift for her husband. And she was friends with the photographer. And she's like, hey, if I bring you a bunch of people, can I get a discount? So that's how I ended up with mine. But it so happened that one of the group, one of our very close friends, her husband shamed her and was like, why would you want to do that? And if you do that, I'm leaving and all this other horrible stuff. And I was really mad at him for that because I'm like, how dare you? Luckily, they are no longer together. She has since moved on to better people. But it's like, it doesn't matter that you're single. You could be married, you could be whatever, and still end up being shamed simply because you want to do something beautiful for yourself. And she wanted to do it for him, and he was like, "Why would I want that?"
Yeah.
It's just,
That's so sad.
it is. It's terrible. I
I'm
said,
glad
"Do it
she
for
found
yourself."
better. I'm glad she found herself and ditched the thing that was holding her back and trying to control her.
And I encourage her. I was like, "Look, forget him. Do this for yourself. Do it now. He doesn't need to know." But she wasn't able to keep that kind of a secret from him. So I was like, okay, I'm sorry. Maybe someday.
I think both
Yeah.
those experiences, Misha, your friend, and Maggie's experiences are both ways, they both show how, as a kind of on a macro level, or as not individuals, there's always exceptions, but just as a culture, how we want women to be afraid
Right,
and to
right.
be hiding and to be ashamed, because it makes women easier to control when they're scared and ashamed and relying on external validation for their own sense of self-worth. When women step into their own sense of self-worth from an internal place and celebrate who they are without needing the justification of a man or a partner, or the permission of a man or a partner, in order to do something that deeply and extravagantly celebrates themselves, that's a woman who's hard to control.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, Gabby, this has been the best time. I'm so delighted you were here today. Maggie, Melody, or Mish, do you have anything that you'd like to say in a final statement? I'll give Gabby last word before I close this out.
I'm glad you're doing the work you're doing. I hope it continues to fulfill you, and I look forward to what you create in the future.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Mish. Well, Gabby, what did
I
you
just
think of your first Twitter Space event?
I've never used Twitter before, but this is great. You're not the first person who says you should be on Twitter. There's a very strong community of people who are sex positive, of body positive, who care about, who is not, oh, I don't know, on other social media networks. It could feel easy to it could be easy to feel a little demeaned because it's so hard to post content on platforms like Instagram and Facebook. It's so easy to get banned, especially with the type of work that I
Yep.
do. And it's nice that there are spaces out there where these communities are thriving. And I feel very, very grateful and to have received this invitation from you, Dr. J, to join you here and have this beautiful conversation and meet these lovely new people, and very honored to just have the privilege in life to be able to sit here on the sofa of my home office with my own business, with my own product, in the middle of a Wednesday morning, and be able to have this conversation with you. I feel very lucky for all of that. So thank you so
Gabby,
much.
I did add you to our list, which I just shared in the nest, and you will find other like-minded people in that list that we have interviewed, that have visited our space, all kinds of people that are wonderful and looking for stuff like you do.
Wonderful. So can I can I message you to find that list, because like I said, this is literally my first day on Twitter and I don't quite know yet how to use the app.
Yep, I will message it to you.
Oh, thank you
Well,
so much.
first thing, make sure that you press Misha's little avatar and make sure you hit the follow button, and do that for each of the people in here. So you're following all of
Absolutely.
them. And that's an easy thing to start with. And then I notice that you have it set up so your direct messages are open. So you could direct message any of these people that you have followed.
Thank you. I just followed everyone. Thank you everyone for coming and participating.
Oh, perfect. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. First of all, Gabby, for being here and sharing this. We are kindred spirits. We'll be doing things forward into the future. I'm absolutely loving it. I would like to thank my lovely silent on occasion co-host, Misha Elliott. I'm glad every
Um,
yes.
I'm not seeing her little message thing on her. I'm wondering if she has them closed because I'm not seeing the little message icon unless they change something.
I don't know. She and I are direct messaging, so I'll get the information to her.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sounds perfect. Lovely. Thank you. So you can, Gabby, if you tap on the tweets that are above our heads, and you
Mm-hmm.
can see the little triangle arrow with three dots at the bottom of the tweet. If you
Mm-hmm.
press that little button, you can hit bookmark, which is in the middle of the page, and it'll be saved for you, and you can go back and look at any of those things.
Fabulous.
And so that's one helpful way that we can provide information. So maybe if I did a blog post and I was going to be talking about the blog post, I'd actually have made a tweet with the blog post, which is what I did with your Etsy. I made a tweet all about that so you can see it, which is the first one on the right. And then you can retweet that, or do whatever you want to in that direction. But again, I'm absolutely thrilled to death that you were here today. And next week, I have no idea what I will be talking about next week. So you just have to come back and pay attention to the timeline and see what I came up with. But I would love for you to subscribe to my newsletter and my YouTube channel. And also tomorrow at 4 p.m., Purple Sex and Erotic Whims with Dr. J is going to be on the Moan app. Our theme on the fourth Thursday is sexual wellness, and our topic tomorrow is how to become your best sexual self. So I hope you might join me on the Moan app, and if not, I'll see you on the timeline here, and I hope everyone has a delightful rest of your day. Thanks, everybody, for joining us.